both very much for talking with us. Take me back to the beginning. I hear there were secret meetings and clandestine get-togethers before all of this came together. Tell me about that.
Well, I mean, weirdly, I guess it started with, You're Next, which Lionsgate bought back in 2011. And it took a little while for that film to come out just because there were some kind of corporate change-ups. And in the interim, our executives on that project, Jason Constantine and Anita Cowan, reached out to us about some top secret thing that they wouldn't talk about. They wouldn't talk about it over the phone. They wouldn't email about it. We had to drive to Santa Monica and sit down with them before they tell us what the meeting was about. And then what it was they were like, we've been talking to Roy Lee and Steve Schneider about potentially doing another Blair Witch film. We have the rights to it, which we'd had no idea that they had Blair Witch Project. I mean, I guess obliquely I knew that they bought Artisan, but I didn't, I didn't know that the rights hadn't expired or whatever. It was kind of the best possible way that meeting could have conceivably gone, because we were just like, oh geez, who knows what this is going to be.
Yeah, well, and that was 3 years ago when we met with them, because we were about to go into production on another film that we were just about to do called The Guest, and so with that meeting we kind of told them, hey, we're definitely want to do the Blair Witch thing, but we have to finish this film first. And so, but what that ended up meaning is that we had 3 years where we were keeping this thing secret, because right from there the secrecy started right away. We weren't allowed to talk about it. We saying the name Blair Witch out loud was completely off limits, so to the point of when we finally did the Comic-Con screening where we unveiled that the woods was in fact Blair Witch. It took me a minute, like during the Q&A, to finally say Blair Witch out loud again.
Because I'd get in trouble.
Yeah, I mean, because I'd so conditioned myself, because I was so afraid at some point, on these other press tours for other movies and stuff that we were on, that at some point we would slip up and mention it, or we were just being in the wrong place at the wrong time. So like even having casual conversations about it in public, we never dared say Blair Witch, and if we did, we kind of hushed and kind of looked over our shoulder a little bit, exactly. Who heard us?
Yeah. Well, I feel like it was worth the effort. Tell me about the new Blair Witch, if you will. I feel like it's a little bit more mainstream than the original was a long time ago.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what we wanted to do with this is we really wanted to take the world of the Blair Witch Project, and we wanted to kind of turn that into a roller coaster ride, And I think if we tried to do the exact same thing that the original film did, it would have just felt cheap, and it wouldn't have been a fulfilling experience. We wanted to just give you a ride, and take you through this and just make a really intense kind of experience. And so yeah.
Were your actors able to speak after filming this? I feel like you ask a lot of your actors and put them through a lot.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Well, were they able to? I mean, it took them a little while to recover. But they're troopers. They made it through.
Well, I mean, it was very difficult for some of them because sometimes they're running the camera themselves. We had these helmet cams that they would wear, and they were quite heavy. And so, in a movie like this, it's all about trial and error. So you can go ahead and just assume the first 5 to 7 takes are just going to be basically elevated rehearsals. You're still figuring it out at that point, because the blocking that the characters are doing within the scene is exactly the same as the blocking that the cameras are doing. So you're having to imitate, whenever you're going to each character's perspective, you're having to not just imitate where they are, but where their head was moving, and trying to, bring it to life in that kind of way. So it was very complicated for them and for us. And one of the hardest things you can do in a found footage thing as an actor is, give a lot of story beats to it, and Blair Witch is one of those things where we really had to remind audiences of this mythology and what's the backstory behind all that. So, it was always like us trying to kind of work with the actors and figure out what was the most direct and most realistic way to get this stuff out, So even as we were shooting, Simon was constantly updating the script, because we constantly had to just adapt to what was working and what wasn't. And there was no way to know until you were out there shooting, because the whole found footage thing is, it's such an experimental medium,
Made in Hollywood.
Thanks for watching this interview. As always, don't forget to subscribe and let us know what you think in the comment section below. For the next Made in Hollywood interview, click right here. Do it. Click it.